Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. The keener of you will notice that I am joined by my esteemed friend and colleague Hamish McLay of Search and Convey. Today, typically, we talk all things IPSA. We have not got guests today, so it allows Hamish to pour forth on subjects that otherwise we might otherwise not talk about. So, Hamish, what have you got in store for us?
Well, interestingly enough, prior to Gareth and I appearing, he said, "Have what I have to say anything to do with the change of government?" And in reality, it hasn't totally. However, we had a Members' Day last week, and during the course of Members' Day, we had two excellent sort of guests who regularly come along to our meetings. Jamie Winch and Callum coming along from Her Majesty's Land Registry. Now, on the occasion,
when you say that, should I tug my forelock?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly in view of what they had to announce to us. Now, on our Members' Day, because of the government and the fact that the Land Registry is prefixed with the letters His Majesty, and it's all to do government related and what have you, because they weren't able to announce. But I could tell Jamie's always got something to say. And he didn't have anything. He couldn't say anything. So he made this announcement. Now, what it actually is, and this really reflects on the very subject I want to speak about today, I'm trying to demonstrate how independent providers of searches and using members of IPSA to actually sort of assist in conveyancing work, you're working with very experienced and very competent people in terms of what they do, because the announcement by Land Registry, they are enhancing the information that is being available on the land charges data, which is being transferred to the councils. And the reason they're doing that is through consultation with IPSA and its board members. And the board, of course, are working on, and particularly our Heather Poole-Gleed, our chief executive, she's actually working on behalf of members, and the members are feeding her the information. We're passing those back to Land Registry. Now, when you think about the hundreds of thousands, in fact, I believe it's over 1 million searches which are carried out every year, it is surprising that they should rely on what members of IPSA are saying to them to actually change anything within the process to enhance things.
Why is it surprising? I think it's laudable that they're taking notice of your organisation.
Well, we give great thanks to Jamie, because we do have this regular communication with Jamie, as well as Land Registry generally with other matters as well. But the fact that they are listening, and it does demonstrate that Land Registry are listening and they are working with it. Absolutely. Right. I mean, let's hand it. Let's give them a good clap. Actually, Land Registry, because
they've not always come across as the good guys, but certainly in this regard, they seem to be doing very well.
Well, I think we're fortunate in the relationship we have with certain members of the team who are working on transferring land charge. It did seem for a while that they weren't taking any notice, and we were concerned about that.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, hang on, there are certain things which are beyond their control, strangely, and it's relative to the information they're receiving from councils. However, if they are able to make it easier, because what happens, and the great thing about it, by going down and using any independent provider, particularly members of IPSA, they will refine any data which comes back from Land Registry anyway. But the enhancements which are going through, they're not introduced as yet, but they are, if you like, so darn close to sort of coming on board. It will make it so much easier for us. And I mean, it's sort of twofold, really. If it's not coming through to independent guys like us, it will make it easier for the corporates, if you like, the corporate providers of searches. it should make them easier themselves to actually put the information together. However, they won't necessarily refine the data. And that's really what we're speaking about. So it's that independence and the fact that we can communicate, and we do communicate, and it does demonstrate that the communication is absolutely sort of key in an awful lot of this.
Well, it seems to me that the more that the organisation effectively at the head of the snake, i.e. the Land Registry, and yourself, who are providing services to beleaguered people out there and investors desperately trying to buy and sell properties, the easier it's going to run. I mean, the reason for your business's existence, for IPSA's existence, was that perhaps the searches were taking an ever-increasing amount of time and without any cap on it. And now you guys are quite capable of reducing it from months for a search to being days. And that's just through better communication, is it not?
Oh, absolutely, Gareth. You're 100% right. It's the communication which is the important one. And if we recollect, an awful lot of damage has been caused by the media and an awful lot of people who are trying to suggest, data is the answer.
Yes, it's not the data, it's the people of the answer. That's the thing.
Yes, and I think this is the challenge, because it's very often not the councils, it's the process. The process tends to hold up what is going on within the search industry, and the process is held up very largely because of the. We go back to it. I mean, we say factory, whether it's the corporate providers, they are sort of almost sort of one and the same. But I do mean it from the particular sort of perspective, because if you have a large volume of searches, now this works. So, and this again reflects why the advantage is of working with an independent search provider. There are others out there, of course. Other than IPSA members are not the only ones, but it's interesting that it's the IPSA members who are actually helping everybody else with this information that's coming out of Land Registry.
We've often talked about the fact that there's plenty of room for everyone here.
Oh,
plenty of room.
Absolutely.
So if you guys do your bit on bringing up and showing willing and providing information and enabling communication, then necessarily it'll bring the whole up, yes?
It should do, but it's freedom of choice, isn't it?
Well,
and
quite right.
This is what we like to promote at IPSA. I mean, this is yet another. I mean, almost whatever subject one speaks about, one can see the advantage of an independent provider.
Right, and this is where we often bang the drum, and I think I want to return to this. Bang the drum for looking for people with local knowledge.
Oh, very, very much the case. Very, very much the case. But along with that, engaging with an independent source or independent providers, they can actually contact the person with local knowledge.
Right.
They can also, to add to that, provide any support information. Now, we speak about local authority searches, which, of course, our search agents, we call them agents, they're largely researchers, actually. They'll research the information and they will then compile the search report. Now, this is a distinction because very often what a desktop researcher will do, they will just download information and put it into the appropriate places and send it off. They won't be refining it. They won't be relating it to the locality specifically because they don't know the locality because they're not based locally. However, as providers sort of through IPSA, using those local people, they put that detail together. But any other support searches that are required as well, there's an independent choice. The people we provide our information to, whether they be developers, whether they be investors, whether they be estate agents, whether they be solicitors, conveyancers, they have an independent choice of what other information they'd like to be able to provide. And it could be an environmental report. We can provide whatever environmental report that conveyancer feels comfortable with. They don't have to they're not force-fed anything. they have that independence of choice. And the independence of choice enables them to provide a service which is best suited to their client, because certain environmental reports, some are more beneficial to the buyer than others. So they have got the choice. They can put the best one forward that they feel. So they're acting with due diligence. When they're force-fed, and that's exactly what does happen, by working through a corporate provider, very often they're actually force-fed as to what other information they have to add in there. No independence of choice.
Wow. Well, look, I have to mention something which I hope you won't start spitting feathers about, but the inexorable rise of the factory conveyancer, which is the antithesis of everything we talk about. It's a one size fits most. It's not, you're not necessarily using localized expertise. It can often be a computer says no situation. How do we get across the fact that IPSA represent independent providers that are bound by their localized knowledge to provide a service to the whole?
It's really a matter of education. And I think this is what we're able to do. I mean, some of the feedback we have from our recent members meeting, it was twofold. First of all, many people said it was the best one ever. And they really liked the change in format, the fact that we're engaging with more members of the board of IPSA, as well as interesting people to come and sort of help out who came from other aspects of the conveyancing industry. But sorry, the fundamental thing was the fact that we are engaging with each other. There is no element of competition in terms of what we do. We are all IPSA represents independent businesses. We're independent people. We have our views, we have our attitudes, and we feed on each other because we can each provide with that particular level of support. So we're not trying to fight. We're not trying to get the cheapest out to anybody, because value doesn't come across if you're buying sort of cheap. We work together to create that. And that's what some people have actually said to me subsequent to that particular sort of meeting as well.
But dare I say it, councils, some of them, I'm not saying all of them, of course, but some of the councils are starting to charge absolute bombs for what they're providing.
Well, to a certain extent, they have been, if people go directly to the councils to get their searches. However, they've forgotten there was a lot of things happened in the early noughties relative to charges and costs and goodness knows sort of what else. And the problem with that is the fact that information that we're looking to access should actually be freely available. And they wanted to charge us for the information that should be freely available. And various actions sort of went through to change this sort of whole thing around and sort of switch it over. And they've rather forgotten about that, because what we've got a new breed of people working at local councils. And they've forgotten that this environmental information should be freely available to view. And that's all we want to do, is to view the. And they say, no, you can't view it. We've got somebody else to do it. You can't look at it. You can't look at it. It's been paid for by the council, by all the residents in that council area. But can't view it. Got to pay money again. Now, remember, we did speak about this several weeks ago. A lot of them, for all sorts of different reasons, don't have the capacity now to be able to work as effectively they should be able to. And of course, what I didn't add earlier on, a lot of people are trying to blame the councils for the slowdown in that search information being available. Unfortunately, the bigger providers, because they're working with volumes all the time, are loading bigger volumes on the councils to get the information back to them, which will slow down the processing, of course, by the council.
Because remember, the number of people within the council, those departments, has often reduced as well.
No, it has reduced because of the work that Land Registry is taking on, as an example. But it's not just that. There are a number of unitary councils now which have taken on work from, and we've lost experienced people. And of course, this is a great thing about IPSA members. They're all experienced researchers. They've been doing this, and there's an enormous number who've been doing it for over 20 years. So they have more
and have relationships going back that far with those councils. So we were talking. Who were talking to Barty?
That was Barty and Sharon from Whitefield Legal Services that we were speaking to last week about this very, very subject, the relationship we have with councils. So really, this is what we want to try and emphasise today, that tremendous position we happen to be in, that we have developed those independent relationships. We're not a large company with large numbers diving in to a particular sort of council and bombarding them saying, we must have this, we must have that. So relationships make such a difference. And independent people can create relationships. It's much, much harder.
I have to apologise. Michelle Poller has been excitedly writing messages, and I've been so focused on what you've been saying, I didn't notice it. So the first thing she popped up was this: I know how to wind Hamish up, don't I? Well, that's part of the reason I'm here, Michelle. But thank you for noticing. In comment to talking about the Members' Day, she said it was the best one ever, which is a lovely thing. And in a side note, which I have no idea why she's mentioning this now, she said the music was good too. Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you very much, Michelle. But guys, look, Hamish, I have to wind this up now. But before we go, I just wanted to say the watchword of everything that we're trying to talk about in any of the 3 channels that Hamish and I have put together talking about different aspects of property. That's both Property Quorum at 10 o'clock on Thursdays, a shameless plug, or Property Matters, which is usually around 2:30 to 3 or around that time on Fridays with Hamish McLay. But the whole essence of what we talk about is look for experience and relationship. The members of IPSA are there because they've developed relationships that will enable you to get your searches done more efficiently. That's what they're leveraging, after all, wouldn't you say, Hamish?
Oh, absolutely. And I think today we've got 4 letters there, and the I stands for independence. And it's independent minds. And I mean, we should sort of add in that as a body, we can only speak at this sort of moment in time. Much of what I express is my own opinion. As Michelle very kindly suggested, Gareth has this way of asking me the right questions to get to which might be a little bit straying beyond what we might actually sort of say as a body. However, the caring nature is there. Whatever I say, we want to look after the buyers and the sellers of property. And I do believe that what IPSA members do is...
Hang on, I forgot to put the disclaimer up. There we go.
Oh, right. Oh, good. Yes. Yes, Michelle mentioned that as well, didn't she? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. The whole point is we have opinions. You represent a whole bunch of people in one way or another who are experienced and skilled. And rather than going to a one-size-fits-all, you should go to people who have demonstrable skills and actual communication with the people that will enable you to get your searches done. And on that note, I just want to thank you so much, Hamish, for allowing this to happen and being the inspiration behind a lot of what I do at the moment. And to all of you out there, both IPSA members and none, please remember what you do is valuable. Oh my goodness. Michelle's straight in there. She said Hamish spells it out so clearly how IPSA members can assist the conveyancers and make life less stressful for them and speed up the return of searches, which is after all the whole point of what it is you do, both jointly and severally. Until next time, I want to thank everyone. Michelle. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Michelle, of course, Hamish, McLay, the team at IPSA, and that Members' Day was stonking, dare I say so myself. And I want all of you to think positively and optimistically. We've got a change in the wind. There's been a change in the water, and hopefully it's going to lead to more transparency. It's going to lead to better outcomes for all those people desperate to move. Thank you once again, Hamish. I wish all of you a wonderful week, and of course, look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.